Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to queue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we grow again. So grateful to be back with you yet again on this magical Monday as I record. And today we are going to talk a little bit about the other shoe dropping. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? Where you're excited about something's going really, really well. Whatever it may be, a new job, a relationship, a potential, adventure or project. And then you sort of have that gnawing feeling inside, that waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for it to go wrong in some way, waiting for the bubble to be burst, if you will. And I thought of this morning because I had a moment of that old familiar friend, if you'll call it a friend, that energy myself just bubbled up, and I paid attention. I was like, there's that other shoe going to drop kind of feeling. And so I acknowledged it. And of course, I opened up YouTube, and the very first video that was suggested to me was pretty much right in line with that whole feeling and idea. So I'm going to share that video, that clip here in just a little bit. Before we dive into the topic further, though, I would like to take a moment to read a review on iTunes. You guys know I love receiving these reviews on iTunes from you because, well, they fuel my fire to continue this labor of love, and they also help us to reach new people. So anytime you take a moment to write me a review, it certainly makes me smile, and like I said, it also can help us to reach new listeners, which that's what it's about, right? Is, however, not even necessarily with this show, any way you can possibly spread this sort of information, these perspective shifting ideas pertaining to the inherent oneness of all things and the ultimate nature of reality, and how to sort of step into the next greatest and grandest version of yourself. Anytime you're helping others to come in contact with that information, you're helping yourself because, well, there are no others, right? They're all extensions of you. So, you can always feel good about sharing this, or like I said, whatever it is, whether it's a clip on YouTube, whether it's a book pertaining to this information, any way that you can help others to expose them is, I believe, the number one way to actually help yourself. Because there are no others, right? Which is why I do this show, right? It's the good kind of selfish. I know if I help enough other people to shift their perspectives, it will not only help to continually rewire my own neural network in my brain, right? We teach best what we most need to learn, but I am going to be on the receiving end of that that energetic output, because you are an extension of me. If it benefits you, therefore I feel the energetic repercussions. It's the best way to level yourself up, is sharing in whatever way you can, helping others to grow and expand their consciousness. Okay, on to the review. This one came in by Lizzie Smith. Lizzie said, "Thank you, Brandon. I've been listening for over a year now, and you've opened my eyes to so many beautiful things. Just like many of us, I struggle with self-love and growth. When days of chaos are upon me, your podcast grounds me. Your lessons of manifestation have changed my life. Today, I took a lift and mentioned the word manifest to the driver. He immediately lit up and said he believed this concept. I brought up Jim Carrey and how he wrote a check for a large sum of cash to himself before he became famous. The next year, Jim Carrey got his first big movie and went on to cash a check for that amount he wrote previously. The Lyft driver lost it when I brought this up. He said just the day before, he wrote a check to himself for $2 million. This interaction was meant to be. I needed this sign to continue my path of self-growth, self-love, and manifestation. This man needed to meet me. He said it himself. The convo gave him hope for his own future. When we got out of the car, we hugged and exchanged the words peace and love. Once I was alone, I cried, tears of pure happiness. In summary, thank you. You've helped pique my interest in this lifestyle, and it has changed me. Keep doing what you're doing. Your soul is so beautiful, and you have changed the life of so many by doing what you love. Peace, XO, peace and love." Oh, thank you, Lizzie. And you know what? How synchronistic this is, because this ties into exactly what I want to talk about today. And guys, I don't read these reviews before I actually queue them up. Essentially what I do is I go and see, okay, what was the last review I read? In this case, it was someone from, last week sometime. I say, okay, what's next? And then I just read it then. So this is like the perfect review for today's episode, because really what bubbled up for me was this morning in pertaining to my own dreams and being on the other side, writing yourself the check before it's been cashed, so to speak. And that's what today's episode is all about. I've got chills. It's so cool. And actually, Jim Carrey ties into that dream for me, because my dream pertains to taking the show to, the next evolution of the show. And you guys have heard me talking about it, Optimistic, the new late night style, consciousness elevating, talk show, TV style talk show that we are going to be producing together. And I say we because it really is due to your help and, opening up the property where it's going to be shot, the Mystic Manor, to a retreat center for all of you to come and stay and experience. And even, some of you will come stay for a week. Some of you will come just for live tapings. You're about to hear all about it here very soon. I've been putting it all together and am sort of releasing the master plan in detail here in the coming week or so. And so this morning, yesterday, I did recording, a little video around it and everything like that. And this morning, I had that sinking feeling for a moment of like, what if everyone doesn't respond as well as I hope? And I've signed in this case, for 2 years, it's a $720,000 lease. And I think, it originally signed for 2 years, but I can probably change it at one from, good friends with the owner of the property. But a very pricey place, right? I mean, it's a mansion. It's and in one of the most expensive places probably in the country to get property at this time, Venice Beach, California, because it's a hotbed for tech companies like Snapchat and whatnot are centered there, are headquartered there. And so it's, not only just a hub of transformation and consciousness on the planet from the way I view it, but it's also, high demand area. So rent, even though this house is absolutely epic, it would probably be, a quarter of that in some of your towns, right? The cost. So, but it is going to be, the way I look at it, it is actually doesn't cost anything. Ultimately, it produces abundance in the form of awakening people, reaching way more people with this content, with a new show that has, this epic visual component to it. So that's the way I'm, basically stretching myself. I've sort of stepped off the ledge knowing that the net will appear, right? I've signed this lease and knowing that you guys are going to want to come and stay there and enjoy the incredible retreat that we're curating for you. And people are going to respond to the show. And all of that is based off of faith, right? And so I've really noticed during this whole experience putting it together Oh, and by the way, any of you who are interested in more, you're of course going to hear about it on the show, but you can also send me an email, Brandon@positivehead.com, and I can send you, as soon as, because there is going to be some like limited availability with some of the offerings pertaining to coming to the Mystic Manor. So, email me and I'll make sure you're on the list as soon as everything comes out. You'll get an email about it. But anyway, what I was saying is, I've noticed that, essentially many, many times in my life, and it's this repeating cycle that comes up for me. And I know you guys can relate to it too. These repeating cycles, these loops that come back around to be processed. It's like, oh, this old familiar feeling. For me, it's having massive, big, huge dreams, like having Jim Carrey come to the property I'm shooting my house, come to the house that I'm shooting this show out of, and being there on the set and recording. He's one of the main guests that I have envisioned bringing in. And so that's another little great synchronistic tie-in. But and then going from so much excitement, taking the plunge, putting faith into it, but then having that sinking feeling of, what if it doesn't work out? The retractive energy, right? You go from expansive to retractive. And, how many times in my life have I launched or done something and then things are going well, then the other shoe drops. Everything falls apart. I expect it actually to fall apart because that's what has happened so many times before. And it's a feeling that you're familiar with, I'm sure. And here's the thing is the other shoe doesn't have to drop. And what do I mean by that? Well, I don't mean that there's everything that you ever reach for is always going to pan out exactly like you envisioned it. What I mean is when you reach and reach and reach without the expectation or need for it to appear in a certain way. Let's use the example of shooting The Optimistic and all the cost in producing the show and the property and all the things that are going into making this sort of massive next level production. If it doesn't pan out exactly like I envision it panning out, it will still be a raging success because I reached, because I believed, because I followed those desires, right? You only lose when you don't try. You only lose when you quit. And so many of us have had the other shoe drop enough times. We're like, no. I'm not doing that again. I'm not going to believe. I'm not putting myself on a ledge. I'm not going to look like a fool in front of my family and friends and whoever else. And what I'm saying is that's the exact wrong approach. I get it. We're sensitive beings. Like you don't want to be hurt anymore, but your hurt comes from the expectation as to how it will play out, the need for it to show up in a certain way. In this clip that I'm going to share here in a few minutes, she talks about the difference between this guy who wanted to travel, actually experiencing it and feeling what it would feel like to do it, drumming up the feeling now. That is sort of, he's having the experience. You can have the experience now. You can have the experience of that success. I can have the experience of everything panning out just like I dreamed it would be right now. And then have a healthy sense of detachment to the actual physical manifestation or not. Now, the irony of that, when I really am successful in having that healthy sense of detachment and knowing that just going for it alone is the success, stretching myself out of my comfort zone. My house, my living situation right now is like the most comfortable, cozy thing ever. And I'm going to risk that and all kinds of financial, guarantees on things that I haven't even manifested yet. And I'm 111% willing to risk it all in order for something more, to be the next greatest and grandest version of myself. And that in itself is the big success, right? I'm not saying to take dumb risks. I'm saying to take calculated risks, things that really, when you check your inner guidance, is this really in my highest calling? Is this attainable? Is there a chance that I could make this happen if I really put my heart, soul, mind, every bit of me into it? Is this in my highest alignment? I could do anything. I can't do everything. If I can do anything, and what would I do? Is this right up there where I would want to put my energy? Check. Yes. Then take the plunge. Take the leap. You guys probably know it's coming. You've heard it before. Here it is again. One of my favorite quotes, Terence McKenna. Nature loves courage. You make the commitment and nature will respond to that commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Dream the impossible dream and the world will not grind you under. It will lift you up. This is the trick. This is what all these teachers and philosophers who really counted, who really touched the alchemical gold, this is what they understood. This is the shamanic dance in the waterfall. This is how magic is done, by hurling yourself into the abyss and discovering it's a feather bed. My favorite, right up there is one of my favorites for sure. And that's the thing, stepping off the cliff, trusting that a net will appear. And the net that will appear for sure is your lack of expectation and in gratitude for yourself for being brave enough. If it excites you and it scares you, it's probably for you, right? And by being brave enough to step off the cliff without knowing exactly, just trusting the process, enjoying the process, knowing that even if you land in a different place than you set out to land, you'll land exactly where you're supposed to land, which leads you to where you're supposed to go next. And that's the way we pinball through eternity. That's how we do it. We learn to flow, we learn to bend, we learn to bounce, we learn to just roll with whatever's coming and continuing to follow those desires, following those dreams, no matter what the outcome of them is. That's the path. That's the path for me. It's the path for you. Otherwise, you sit on the sidelines and watch life go by, playing it safe. Nothing's going to happen really that exciting. Congratulations, you played it safe. Woohoo. We don't want that when we get to the other side. When we're done here, we're going to be like, I should have risked more. This is like what I went there for, right? Another thing, when I had this just kind of come up like that moment of, the other shoe's going to drop thing. Oh, what if it doesn't pan out? And then I remembered all of this and I laughed and relaxed. And in the past, I would just go with those feelings or ping pong between them. Oh, I feel excited about it. Oh, the other shoe's going to drop. I feel excited. Oh, the other shoe's going to drop. And now that same old energy peeked its head out again. And now I just love it and appreciate it and accept it and transmuted it very quickly. Whenever you're feeling not abundant, our good friend Brian Ridgway shared this, and I absolutely loved it. And I will always take it. One of the very positive takeaways from an experience that I set out on with someone. Those of you who were around know what I'm talking about. That I had expectations for it to be smooth, easy, all positive, right? And there was a lot of turbulence with that interaction with that individual months back. And it was perfect. And one of the things that I took away from that perfectly imperfect experience was him talking about breathing and breath and, this idea that you can go, roughly 40 days without food. And granted, this is, very roughly. There's people who supposedly are breatharians, but roughly 40 days on the average person, can go without food. 4 days, average person without water. 4 minutes roughly without air, right? And so you look at those things, right? We pay for our food. We pay for our water on this planet at this point. Air is the most abundant thing. The most abundant thing around you is air, and it's the most important. Your breath. It's the first thing you do when you come out of the womb. Take that first breath, right? And it is so abundant. It's the only thing they haven't figured out how to bottle and sell yet. And well, I guess they have in some places, but you get the idea. You're breathing right now. You're not paying for it. And it is infinite abundance all around you. It is your connection to source. It is the, gateway between you and your higher self. It is your gateway between you, this world, and the next. They say, I've heard it said with every breath, you're born in. It's like death, birth, like sort of navigating between these two dimensions, if you will, with your breath. And there's so much of this abundant energy, this oxygen for you to breathe. And anytime you're feeling the other shoe's going to drop, retractive energy, remember your breath. Look at your breath. Take a deep breath as a symbol. Infinite abundance, no matter what comes you will be absolutely fine, and it will play out exactly like it should. All right. I have a little clip to play for you here. This is Abraham Hicks. I found it on the Dewdrop 157 YouTube page. It was the first one recommended this morning when I opened up YouTube, and it was titled Let Go and Dream Big. Take a listen.
Some of you, along that process, and it's true of you, it's true of many. Esther experienced it too, especially in the beginning. You become so determined to be really good, deliberate creators that you sort of hold yourself back from the expansion that you're not up to speed with yet. You don't ask for all that you want. You just don't let yourself go there because you're guarded. You don't want that other shoe to drop. You don't want to come face to face with the realization that you've asked for something that you haven't allowed yourself to realize. So we began saying to you, you're never going to get it done. You're not ever going to get it done, so let that go, and you can't get it wrong, so be nicer to yourself along the way. But still, there's a sort of precision about you, a sort of guardedness about you, a sort of, I'm going to get this right, that doesn't allow you the adventurous version that you really want. The really adventurous version, because you're afraid of getting it wrong. And we want you to understand that you can't get it wrong. It will never be so wrong that you can't pull it back into alignment if you want to. And so when you say to us, and we hear it often from people, my life is going pretty well, we would rather hear you say, I am ravenous about this life. There's so much that I want, and I'm screwing up every time I turn around. There's so much that I want that I'm not allowing myself to have. And that's what you're reaching for. You're reaching for more aliveness. You're reaching for more enthusiasm for life. You want to allow more of the energy to flow, even if it risks you resisting some of the energy that's flowing. And so sometimes when that desire is strong within you and you have not even acknowledged it to yourself, something that indicates the resistance that you've got going on shows up in your experience and causes a faster development of desire, faster than ever before. This life is supposed to produce desire even if you haven't yet come to the place that you're allowing yourself to receive it fully. But we began almost every conversation as we start out in a day, you almost always, when we say, are you enjoying your desire? Because we want you to have desire that is rampant, that you aren't up to speed with, because it's so fun getting up to speed with the desires that you're not up to speed with. That is the zest of life that you're looking for. We're going to say it again. The zest that you're looking for is for your life to launch rockets that you're not in the vicinity of, because it's so fun to get in the vicinity of it. Because everything is relative. It is so fun to move from not being in alignment to in alignment. That's fun. It's like, why do you go on the roller coaster? Why do you go up so you can go down? Why do you do that? Because you like the relational experience. You like the feelings of that. You get a sense of what we're talking about?
Yes.
So what you bring to this table, and it is a wonderful representation, and a lot of people are feeling it, is don't be afraid to get out there in the dynamics of this vibrational universe and let your desires soar far beyond your ability to own them. Because when you do come into ownership of those, how good it's going to feel. It's sort of like, do you remember those Thanksgivings when you were obligated to go to 3 or 4 different places at once? And by about the second or third Thanksgiving dinner, you wanted to die. Something that ordinarily would feel so wonderful was just not feeling so wonderful to you. You don't want to eat all your meals today. And you don't want to experience all the ideas that will flow to you in your whole lifetime today. You want them to just continue to come. So yes, you said, I'm going to go put myself into a physical body on the leading edge of thought, and I'm going to mix it up enough that I launch plenty of rockets of desires. And in the early days of your life, you launched more rockets that you could ever begin to keep up with. And you did not like that discord, and so you've decided to not do that again. But the thing is, you can't ever do that again because you now know too much. You know about alignment. So you can let your desires soar. You can reach for things that you have not been allowing yourself to reach for. And that's what this tripping up has been about. You've been deliberately holding stuff back, and you cannot do it. When you try to hold something back that's natural, that it flows, it causes a stronger discord, and that's what that's all about. So our encouragement to you is to let yourself desire. So here, if you've got a desire and you are not allowing yourself to let it flow, the discord is uncomfortable, and then you pronounce yourself doing something wrong. So you've been attempting to do something that no one can do. You've been attempting to hold the desires back, which you can't do. We want you to encourage the desires. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
What do you want? What do you want?
What do I want?
What do you want?
Well, I want to do everything. I want to go out and have everything I want. I want to have more abundance than anyone could ever have. I want to be able to do anything at the drop of...
I want abundance because, why?
It gives you the ability to do and have whatever you want.
And what do you want to do?
I want to go and travel the world.
And what do you want to have?
What I want to have? I want to have joy. That's what it's about.
But what do you want to have? You're talking about abundance. You don't buy...
I would love to make music. I would love to travel the world. I would love to be...
and what's out there in the world that you want to see?
People and beautiful things and cultures and...
different experiences.
Experiences, yes.
So that's the first time you've really gone there in a while. Because you're so practical. Because if you let yourself want something that you can't go do right now, it feels like failing. It feels like a pipe dream. And in an action world, we don't want you to go do things that you can't afford to do. But in a vibrational world, you are abundant. You get to think about those things that you want to do. You get to let your juices flow about that. Spend time letting yourself be in the receptive mode of the imagination of that, you see. We're happy to have this conversation. Because usually a conversation as we're visiting with our physical friends goes something like this. I have desires. I've got lots of desires, and there are things in my way from these. But you've taken it a step further, and a lot of you have. I have lots of desires, and I've got things in my way that keep me from it. And so I hold myself from thinking about desire, because when I turn my attention to my desire, my negative emotion, as I'm aware of the condition of it not having happened yet, flares up, and then I think I'm miscreating. Did you hear that? So now what we're saying to you is, I have desires that my vibration is not allowing me to manifest right now. But I've decided to approach this life unconditionally. So I don't need the condition of that desire right now to be happy. The thought of it feels good to me. I'm going to allow myself to think about it. I'm going to allow myself to find the feeling of it. The feeling of landing in a country that I haven't been in before, and looking out the window into the environment of it and getting my first glimpse of something that is new. And stepping off the airplane into the weather atmosphere and feeling the atmosphere, the earth atmosphere of this. Feeling the temperature, feeling the humidity, smelling the fragrances, being there. Getting a glimpse of the people, hearing their sound, feeling them. In other words, you don't have to go there physically in order to have that emotional experience. You see what we're getting at? And as you allow yourself that emotional experience, we're going to say it, we've just got to, that unconditional experience, because the condition didn't happen yet. You aren't on the airplane. You aren't on the airplane. You're not there smelling it with your nose. You're smelling it with your emotion. You have allowed the thought to manifest. So don't hold back from that. When we begin every gathering, we say to you, are you enjoying your desire? And you say, yeah, you do. You say, yeah. But you're usually not enjoying your desire. You don't really get what we mean, because what you mean is, I'm allowing myself to enjoy the desires that I'm letting myself have, because I'm keeping a close guard on not wanting more than I believe I can have, because it's torturous. And we just think that torturous contrast is so good for you. Because you cannot hold desires back. And when you try, you introduce unnecessary resistance into your experience. And the reason that you hold your desires back is because you've been using feedback from others who don't believe in the process, who don't understand the process, who don't believe in themselves, and who don't believe in you as your feedback. So if you say to someone who hasn't traveled the world, who doesn't understand about vibrational currency, it's a vibrational currency that we want you to spend. We want you to discover the currency of vibration, the currency of letting the energy flow. We wanting to expand your sense of where you stand and who you are in this equation of creation. And we're wanting you to, all of you, to hear us when we say, you're not getting your fair share. You're holding yourself back from your fair share because you've got bogus beliefs and flawed premises that keep you from letting yourself have your fair share. So in that limited thinking, you don't let yourself want in the way that you naturally do. And you practice not letting yourself want with such deliberateness, because you don't want to look bad. You don't want to be talking about stuff that you can't demonstrate right now. But we want you to be talking about stuff that you can't demonstrate, because we want the unconditional pleasure of it to be what you're going for. We're out here on the leading edge, friends, way out here on the leading edge. As we visit with you, most people who come to us initially, they just want to figure out how to live a better life. They just want to figure out how to have more money and more friends and have nicer things in their life experience and to fulfill their reason for being. And it's a long list of things that you want. But few of you understand that the key to what you're looking for is a fast-moving vibration that you're up to speed with. That's really what you're looking for. If either of those elements is out of whack, if you don't allow a fast-moving vibration and you're not up to speed with it, you don't feel so good. So sometimes if in the early days you allowed a fast-moving vibration, but you weren't up to speed with it, you felt bad. And so you say, well, I'm not going to do that again. And we're saying, but don't let the thing that you give up be your fast-moving vibration. Your fast-moving vibration must be encouraged. What you want to do is get up to speed with it. So we want you to talk more with more sense of ownership of who you really are and what's coming. We want you to say things like, I am one of the most vibrationally prosperous people that I've ever met. I understand the laws of this universe. I understand how things work. I get who I am. I can feel the power of who I was when I was born. I can feel the perfection of my choices, and the contrast that I lived was so perfect for me. I launched so many rockets early in my life experience, and my vibrational reality, my vortex, is huge as a result of that early work that I did here in this physical body. I'm so happy that I was always on my path, and I always did exactly what I was here for. And I love that there is a robust vibrational calling that is calling me in a really powerful way. And I revel in every hint of it, every inkling of it that I get. I revel in that. And I love being consciously aware of my emotional guidance system. I love knowing when I'm letting myself be up to speed and when I'm not. I'm poised for the perfect life experience. I don't compare myself with one other person, because what they have, what they're doing, what they're thinking, how they're being, how they're feeling really is irrelevant in terms of my relationship with who I am. It's irrelevant in terms of who I was coming in and who I was when I was born and who I am standing here and who I am as a non-physical energy. The only thing that is important to me is the relationship between who I really am and who I'm letting myself be. And I love thinking about who I really am. I love thinking about my unlimitedness. I love thinking about my worthiness, my blessedness. I love thinking about the possibilities. I love knowing who I am, and I'm so eager about manifestations of my life showing that to me.
You hold yourself back from the expansion of all that you want, right? You don't want the other shoe to drop, and I love how she says, you can't get it wrong. So be nice along the way, right? This is really changing our perspective on sort of cutting. This is very similar to closing your heart, right? Oh, I've got these dreams. I've got these ideas. Oh, no, it stung last time. I'm going to close my heart. You want more energy to flow, even if it triggers resistance in you. And that's what I experienced in myself. More energy flowing and some of these old triggers coming up. And that's really the whole point, not to say, oh, I don't want to dream big or launch rockets of desire that I can't, I don't see a way to, I'm not in alignment with yet. So nope, cut that off. No, that is actually the zest for life. Let your desires soar far beyond your ability to own them, she said. And, this idea, the fact that you haven't had it all yet, that's okay. You don't want to eat all your meals today, right? And very, very well explained, not allowing these desires to flow actually causes discord. And then you think something is wrong. So you're not going to win by cutting off your desires. And then you get this whole idea that you're miscreating, right? When you see your desires aren't here, and then you feel negative. Instead, learn to appreciate and understand and see this process for what it is. Doesn't mean you're not going to still go through the process, but when you understand it, it is, it's like the old G.I. Joe cartoons when I was a kid. Knowing is half the battle. Now. You understand this process. It's like me this morning. I saw it. That retractive energy. Oh, but I know. I see you. I know what's going on here. I'm deciding to approach life unconditionally. Yeah, I'll risk it. I'll risk it again. If this were to fail, I'll risk it 100 more times. And every time, it's like the Chinese proverb, fall down 8 times, get up 9. That's the one thing I've been really good at, is getting my butt kicked and getting up again, and just like having that like eternal optimism. Okay, I can get it right this time. I can learn. All right. I still believe. Other people have looked at me so many times like, yeah, you're crazy, man. Why don't you just settle? No. I'm not settling, you settle. And that's what she talks about here, listening to these people that don't get any of this. And you're taking them as, sort of like you're taking their input. Like anytime I'm getting input from anyone, not in a judgy way, but in just an observational way, I'm thinking, okay, who are you and where are you in relation to your greatest and greatest version of yourself? And what I can imagine your greatest and greatest version of yourself would be, right? Sort of this higher self living in through the physical vessel that is you. And if doesn't seem to be a lot of alignment there, probably not the person that I'm taking a lot of advice for, especially considering your inner guidance is the number one source of all the most relevant advice. I like how she says, look, this torturous contrast is good for you. Like smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor, right? The growth is painful. It's a growing pain. You can't hold your desires back anyway. Just let that energy flow. It's all about the vibrational currency we want to spend anyway. You can feel it now. That's the shortcut to all of it. Expand your sense of who you are and where you stand in relation to all these desires and dreams and perspectives on your life. And I love how she said, the real thing that you should be going for in all this is the pleasure of being unconditional, right? Yes, you want a fast-moving vibration that you're up to speed with, and the unconditional pleasure surrounding this whole experience, that's it. Practice what she does here at the end, the I am. What are you saying that you are? You are unconditionally accepting and constantly launching rockets of desire. And I'm willing to risk it all. I am willing. I am willing to have my heart broken. I'm willing for it not to pan out. I'm willing to keep reaching for my desires. You only lose when you quit. This is the path. This is what all these teachers and philosophers who really counted, who really touched the alchemical gold, this is what they understood. It's how magic is done. And you are magic. I am magic. We are magic. I love you all so, so much. I have a track to leave you with. Help leave your lotus heart blasted open. This track is called Lotus Heart by Desert Dwellers. It's actually a Kalia Scintilla remix. Hope you enjoy. Until next time, journey well. Also, before we cue up today's song, I wanted to let you all know that we have finally created the Game with the Universe on our website, where you can choose the first number that comes to your mind and it'll pull up that episode number of the podcast. I've been saying this is a great way to co-create synchronicity and magic with your higher self for quite some time by doing this manually. But now if you go to positivehead.com/YO-universe, there is a super fun and simple interface to play this game with your higher self. I firmly believe just by setting the intention to play in this way, it opens up the door for magic, and it's a synchronistic way to hone in on nuggets of wisdom out of the huge catalog of episodes that are specifically appropriate for you at this time in your journey to becoming the next greatest and grandest version of yourself. And it also makes for a super fun way to engage and invite friends, family, people on social media to check out the podcast as well. So be sure to check out positivehead.com/YOUNIVERSE and be sure to tell all your friends so they can play a game with the universe, which also helps the show to reach new people, which I greatly appreciate.